Steel Curtain Network.
Touchdown! Touchdown para Calvin Austin! El Monte Washington es arma. ¿Quién más? ¿Quién más? DJ Watt!
What is going on, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Post-Game Show here on the Steel Curtain Network. I'm Jeff Hartman, joined by Dave Schofield and Bryan Davis. This was a dud, 25-10 loss on Sunday Night Football. The Steelers' primetime woes continue. They're now 0-3 this year in front of a national audience. Dave Schofield, what's going on?
I got to stop being scheduled to be on these things because this is like three bad ones in a row for me, and it's not fun, especially when the last two I've been on have been late at night. Actually, all three of them have been late at night. What am I saying?
Yeah, we were right here with you. Bryan, what's going on?
TJ Watt even called it laying an egg. And it was, I tell you what, eggs are good. That was just a rotten egg. Oh, gosh, horrible night. And all the way around, I think this is going to be fast in my analysis as I say everything was awful.
Yeah, this might be a quick show depending on how the audience that's watching live handles things. But ultimately, I do want to update the injuries before we even get started. Darius Slay is in the concussion protocol. Joey Porter Jr., whatever ailed him and had him leave the game, he was able to return. So that's really it. So there you go on that front. But let's do knee-jerk reactions. Dave, I'll let you go first.
Knee-jerk reaction is, can this team get both sides of the ball playing somewhat reasonable for any game? I mean, it's been there. It seems like it's been a while, but even last week in that win, you're like, yeah, but the offense didn't do a whole lot with a lot of the opportunities they were given. This week, they weren't given a ton of opportunities, and they did even less. I mean, my goodness, you score the first 3 points of the game without even getting a first down. So, and then you score, the only other points you score in the game were an absolute garbage time. The offense was just so discombobulated, more than even just one person or one unit. It was just not good across the board. The defense, especially through the first half and through the majority of the game until, my goodness, with 10 minutes left in the game, they had already been on the field for over 30 minutes. Eventually they broke. But if you'd have told me that the Chargers scored 25 points, I would have been like, yeah, I think the Steelers are going to win this one. And it wasn't even close. This was not good.
Bryan, knee-jerk reaction.
Disinterested offense, and that's the best way to say it. When Boswell missed that field goal, which, I mean, that's a rare thing too. But when that happened, it felt like the white flag was up. When you have a pass to Jonnu Smith that he had to go up and try to get, and that was just, he missed him. That was a bad pass. It starts with the quarterback, but everything was awful. Just knee-jerk reaction. Man, I should have started binge watching Sister Wives again.
All right, I'm going to say, and then this is knee-jerk reaction. So we are literally recording this in case you're listening to it on Monday morning, which I'm sure most people are. It's almost Monday morning here. My question is was this loss really just about really bad quarterback play? I thought Aaron Rodgers looked absolutely atrocious. The overthrows, the missed throws, the happy feet in the pocket, not trusting his protection, which understandably so, they had some issues along the offensive front. But I want you to think back to, especially early in the game, if he connects with DK Metcalf for a huge gain and or touchdown, if he doesn't throw a pass to Jonnu Smith, who is wide open in the flat with not a Charger around him, if he connects on some of these throws, and I would even say Calvin Austin III, where had a great defensive play to knock it down, but he did kind of underthrow that pass as well. Is this just, can we say that because the defense, I thought they played well enough to win? Is this just because Aaron Rodgers sucked tonight? What do you guys think, Dave?
Well, it didn't help. I mean, honestly, I don't think the wide receivers were all that, or sorry, not just wide receivers were all that great. I didn't think the offensive line played very well as a
Yeah.
collective. And honestly, I would have to say that if you wanted to say, hey, give me something positive from the offense, I would say Jaylen Warren. And that's about it.
Averaged 5 yards a carry. And yet when it was third down and it's crunch time, 3rd and 2, they're taking him off the field. I don't understand that whatsoever. Brian, what's your take on the Rodgers, my Rodgers take before we get into this?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, he was the worst player on offense as far as that goes. And I know a lot of people want to blame the offensive line, but no, Rodgers had his worst night as a Steeler, probably one of his worst games in a long, long time. It was a terrible night. You know what? The way the defense played, though, this was a completely winnable game. Dave's right when he says 25 points, the Steelers should win that game. There's really, I mean, the sack, the safety, that was, sure, he didn't have much time, but it just felt like he was off and it took everybody off with him. I thought the receivers were horrible. Jaylen Warren, yeah, I guess he's the only one that I could go ahead and give some credence to here. And probably if you want to defend the receivers, that's fine. But there were some drops. Calvin Austin, that interception was on Calvin more than because it bounced off of him. There were so many things that I just hated in this entire game. It was a complete embarrassment. And on offense, and there's nowhere that you feel comfortable with saying that there's a silver lining. I mean, you're going to be challenged to find a winner on offense.
Yeah. I have one, and you already talked about it. Jaylen Warren's fantastic. But all right, we have some super chats here before we get started with the box score. Let's go with Brandon Diaz. Gave us $1.99. He said, these are games that get coaches fired. Except us.
I have a question. Has there been any head coaches fired during the season?
This year?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember who was fired.
Oh, crud. It was the Callahan in Tennessee.
Gotcha. Okay. I gotcha. Okay. Well, because I guess I could take Tennessee out of this. Going into today, there's been 31 games where teams have scored 10 points or less, and there's only been one head coach that's been fired. So to say that everybody else fires them for this and we don't is, yeah, take it for what it's worth.
I think it would have been if Brandon would have said that these are the type of performances where change happens.
Yes,
that's a little bit more appropriate.
Yeah, I could get
take a look at the Detroit Lions. All right, the Detroit Lions are a good football team. What happened? They stripped their offensive coordinator of play calling duties. Dan Campbell called the plays as they put up 44 points today on the Washington Commanders. So this is typically like poor performances can lead to change. But I would also agree with Brandon, that it's probably not going to happen. We're probably not going to see much change. The Steelers are not a team that likes to do that. Brian, any take there?
Yeah, they're not even going to scapegoat an assistant coach at this point. The Raiders had a horrible night the other night, that 10-7 game in Denver. That was almost unwatchable. Even if you're a Denver fan, it was unwatchable. And when you watch that game, when what happened, they said, okay, well, we're going to just fire the special teams coach. And that's what they did. Yeah. And, so they had to try to make a change to say, hey, we're going to make one. That's not going to fix anything out there. Right now, if the Steelers made a change, it would probably be a sacrificial assistant coach. And that's something they don't do either.
No, not at all. All right, let's go to Wilson Pava. Gives us $4.99. He said the most embarrassing game in a while. These last 3 games make me question Mike Tomlin more than any 3-game stretch I can remember.
I think he means 3 out of the 4.
Maybe
because I don't think anyone was saying that last week.
The last 3 losses.
The last 3 losses. Yeah, I can agree with that. I would say this about the most embarrassing game, because here's the question. Would you rather lose a close game to a team that's not very good, or would you, is that more embarrassing, or getting blown out by a team that is? some people might look at it one way, some might look at it the other. To me, I feel like this. I mean, only having 3 points until the other team is basically, you feel like they're emptying their bench. That is embarrassing.
Yeah. Brian, any take on that?
Yeah, I've actually no, I don't, because I just I saw something.
Seattle has 2 losses.
Yeah, I saw something online that just I'm like in the chat that just completely confused me. So that's it.
All right, so we press on. Let's go to Dude Soccer 1995. Gives us $4.99. It says, regretted picking up extra work tonight, or extra tonight at work. Can always count on the primetime Steelers making it worth it with a stinker performance. Wide receiver 2 is needed. I have to be honest. This is the first time this season, and this is just me personally speaking, that I felt like, man, they do need wide receiver help. Up until tonight, I thought, they can manage it. You got the tight ends, you got a bunch of different weapons, and it looks different than most NFL teams, but I felt that tonight in a big way. Any guys want to comment on that? All right. Not the best color men in the league for nothing. Exactly. We are going to press on. Justin Gall gives us $9.99. He said the Steelers defense may have played their best game, especially if you consider they didn't need 5 turnovers to dominate. Great scheme. Love all the personnel adjustments we made. Second week in a row. Yeah, I think there is.
I don't agree with that one.
Okay, go ahead. Explain.
How can you fault them for having 5 turnovers?
Oh no! I mean, he's saying they didn't need 5 turnovers to have a dominant performance.
But exactly. But just think of how different this game would have been if they would have even had maybe 2. What I'm saying is don't fault the defense for taking the ball away. But if you're trying to say it's a dominant performance in a game where they did not take the ball away, I would say, yeah, but the problem is that they had opportunities and they didn't as well.
Yeah. Brian, anything?
Yeah, there were drops. You had a couple guys. Joey Porter dropped an interception. There were situations, but they could not jar that ball loose. So I get that with the turnovers, but I agree with what the commenter was saying with the fact that you just don't. I mean, you got to see them make some adjustments, and the defense did play well. It just wasn't enough.
Yeah. And I would say this, I think this is good. They've stacked two good defensive performances, even though they lost. It's just a shame that they didn't get, I mean, honestly, like I said before, it's that the offense needed the benefit of the takeaways more than the defense needing to take away to get the stop. So it appears to be, because the offense couldn't do anything unless they were handed great field position.
All right. So then Justin Gall gives another $9.99 and says, as Steelers experts who might have the inside skinny, can you explain why Caleb Johnson was running out of our own end zone with no injury to Warren? That's part of the rotation, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's what they wanted to do.
It was obvious that they were going to get him in on that whatever number drive it was or whatever.
Yeah. All right, let's get this show on the road. We'll start off with the box score, and we're going to start with the quarterback like we always do. Aaron Rodgers finishes the game 16 of 31, 161 total yards, 5.2 average, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 3 sacks, a 50.6 rating. At one point, his rating was down to 19.5 until garbage time. What do y'all think about Aaron Rodgers? Dave, go ahead.
It was really bad.
Yeah.
Let's just say this. If Aaron Rodgers was playing well and everyone else was not playing that well, I think they're at least in the game. If you got the same performances from the rest of the offense, but Aaron Rodgers was playing basically, I would even say how he's played pretty much all the other games this season, they're in the game. But everybody else not being together and him being the leader of the one that's not together, I would say, yeah, then that was a really big problem.
Brian, what's your take on Aaron Rodgers?
That stat line is good compared to what I thought it was going to be. That's how bad I thought he played. The eye test, he looked like he aged a lot tonight. And in fact, this is going to be a very unpopular opinion with a lot of people, but I don't care. I'm going to say it anyways. I was actually disappointed, and I did not clap when they scored that touchdown in garbage time, because this deserved to be a 25-3 score on paper.
Yeah. I just sat there. I was like, yeah, Roman Wilson scored. Oh, well. It was already over. And that's the thing. I don't think the stat line actually shows how bad this offense looked and how bad Aaron Rodgers looked. And I think that it was probably one of his worst games, not just in recent memory. It might have been one of his worst games of his career. I know that they showed a graphic on the television at one point that showed that there were 3 different categories. I couldn't see what they were because I looked up late from my computer, and it was like second lowest, lowest of his career. It was just incredible how bad it was. So, all right, let's continue on and let's talk about the offensive line next, because we did mention Aaron Rodgers was sacked 3 times, quarterback hits 5 for the LA Chargers. Felt like he was under duress a lot. I'm not sure if that was him just kind of, I don't know, seeing ghosts, as Sam Darnold once said, or if that was actually, a bigger issue. Dave, what do you think about the offensive line?
They weren't getting it done tonight. That was part of the reason that Aaron Rodgers was off, was not. He was, like you said, he was hurried constantly because he wasn't making good throws, because he was hurried. Whether he was truly hurried or not, it didn't really matter. It looked like extremely early in the season when he didn't have any confidence in the offensive line. It was right back to it. I don't know if it's because, you have the savvy veteran of Isaac Seumalo kind of holds them together, or what it was. It was not a good performance from the offensive line tonight.
Brian, thoughts on the offensive line?
Yeah, just a little bit of protection. Maybe something could have gone right, but Aaron Rodgers was misfiring. But when you look at the very first play of the game, it's telling when you have that offsides and that 5-yard penalty just to start the game. It was, oh my gosh, it was just disgusting.
Yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong. Did they not come out and Andres Pete was at left guard, right?
Yes. Because they were in the jumbo package.
Yes. So they were going to keep Spencer Anderson in his typical role as the flex eligible tight end. Pete jumps off sides, very egregious, by the way. And after that, I think Spencer Anderson took over at left guard. I don't think they ever put Andres Pete back out there.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, it was anytime they were in jumbo. Yeah, the way it worked was kind of how Brian and I mentioned it, the way that they should do it if Seumalo didn't play. Spencer Anderson was the left guard unless they went jumbo, and Spencer Anderson moved out to the jumbo tight end, and Andrews Pete came in and played left guard.
Okay. All right. Well, the jumbo package, and again, we were really happy when they started to throw out of that jumbo package. They're going to have to figure something out, because it's the NFL is catching up to it, and they're struggling. They are really struggling with everything. And even though the offensive line, and this is going to lead us into our conversation about the running game, they didn't run the ball poorly, but they only ran it 16 times. The Steelers running 16 carries total as a team, 73 total yards for 4.6 yard average. Jaylen Warren, 14 carries for 70 yards, a 5-yard average himself. But when I think back on it, I don't think that the offensive line was necessarily doing a lot. Dave, what did you think about the running game?
I thought that the Jaylen Warren was running well. Yeah. I don't know that the offensive line was doing that much for him. Kenny Gainwell didn't get a carry. Yeah, that's interesting. But as Coach Tomlin was saying, when you're 0 for whatever on third down, when he was asked, did you want to run the ball more? He's like, we couldn't do anything more. We weren't staying on the field. So it was one of those things that, even when they got down into the red zone and didn't convert, it was frustrating, because what got them down there, basically Jaylen Warren, and then they go away from it. So,
Brian, thoughts on the running game or the offensive line with the running game?
Yeah, it's some things were moving, and I will say that, and I agree with what Dave said. And then they go away from it. And it just seems that you have this team, and I say it every week, people get disgusted with me talking about being cute, but it seems like they just won't try to say, hey, try to stop it this way. And, when you're averaging 5 yards a carry, and it's not like it seemed like there were like these long runs. I don't know what his longest was. Was it 18?
14.
14?
It was the one. It was the hurdle.
Okay. Oh, which was beautiful, by the way. But yeah, there's not much you can do. He's your bright spot, and that's about it.
Yeah, because like you said, the pass catchers left a lot to be desired for sure, and we'll go over those stats now. The receiving numbers were just pretty dire for the Steelers. They obviously have 161 total yards. Roman Wilson, with a 27-yard catch and run for a touchdown, led the Steelers in receiving yards, 2 catches, 35 yards. DK Metcalf, 3 catches for 35 yards. Pat Freiermuth, 3 for 33. Jaylen Warren, 2 for 21. Darnell Washington, 1 for 15. Calvin Austin, 2 for 14. A lot of drops in this game. Dave, what do you think about the pass catchers?
Yeah, Rodgers had 2 interceptions, but that second one was 100% on Calvin Austin. He just got to catch that ball for a first down. It was a really nice play, and he just lets it go off his hands and into the hands of a former Steeler. So, that was frustrating. It would have been nice to see Jonnu Smith come down with that ball. My son was frustrated. He's like, how was that not a catch, is what he wanted to know. I'm like, if the ball touches the ground, even if I don't even know that I saw it move because of the ground, but if he didn't have 100% secure, I was surprised it was enough to overturn it. But I'm kind of frustrated with Jonnu Smith there, but that was also a really high pass to a wide open receiver. So it's really tough if your quarterback's off for the receivers to really be on, because then, my goodness, then he throws a great pass to Calvin Austin, who just lets it go off his hands. So it was just, I guess, one of those nights more than anything.
Yeah. Brian, thoughts on the pass catchers?
I thought that effort by Jonnu Smith was great. I don't know how you really pull that in with as high as it was. So yeah, I get why you were frustrated. I just kind of feel that I don't know how that's not going to the ground, because the progression of the arms going down, I don't, it's going to jar it out, and I get it. But as far as everything else goes, I thought Calvin Austin had a horrible night, and I'm usually very high on Calvin. What was his numbers?
He had 2 catches for, let's see here,
14.
2 catches for 14.
And how many targets? Like 5?
7.
Okay.
Yeah.
That horrible.
All right. So let's see here. We got some spammers in the chat today. That's always fun. I'll tell you what, let's take a break. When we come back, we are going to go into the defense. We have a super chat, a couple super chats to get to. If you're watching live, we're not going anywhere. For those that are on the audio side, stay tuned. We'll be right back after this. All right, we're back, folks. Thank you all for being patient. Let's get to some super chats here. Let's go to Kyle. He said he gives us $5. His week after week, Jaylen Warren feels underutilized. And I'm not saying that as a Warren fantasy owner. He was running well. Dave, you kind of touched on this and what Mike Tomlin said after the game, and that was essentially that we weren't doing anything overly great. But there were some times, though, and I said this, especially there was a 3rd and 2. Jaylen Warren had gotten them down there. I think this was when he hurdled the player, and I had a great catch and run. And he wasn't even on the field, and maybe he was tired. I get it, but you would want your best offensive playmaker in the game at that point. I don't know.
You'd think so.
Yeah. Andrew Palladino gives us $10 and says, infuriating how unbalanced and inconsistent this team is on a weekly basis. One week, the defense stinks. The next week, it's the offense. Why can't we get right? Embarrassed and undisciplined again. Yeah, I can't say there's been bad performances for sure, but I don't know. Embarrassing is tough when you're not really a part of it, but any thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah. You know what? I felt defeated. Usually I sit there and it's like they're gonna be okay, and I watch them come back, and I've seen it, and they even win sometimes when I'm feeling that way. There was no optimism because, like I said, I just felt like the entire thing on offense looked just disinterested.
It's fair. It's a fair statement. Fair statement. So I guess let's turn now to the defensive side of the ball, which actually was kind of the bright spot. Justin Herbert finishes with some really good numbers, but they were buoyed by Ladd McConkey, essentially. 20 of 33 for 220 yards, a 6.7 yard average. He did throw a touchdown, no interceptions, was sacked 5 times. And at a rating of 90.5 in terms of quarterback hits, the Steelers had 9. So the pressure was getting to Herbert. The problem is that 107 of those yards went to Ladd McConkey, and the long being that 58 yard. And that was that after the interception, I believe? Correct me, guys, if I'm wrong.
No, that was after the turnover on downs at the 10-yard line.
Okay. So it just was like a gut punch, like that 58-yard play. You're like, okay, the Steelers just went for it. They don't get it. All right. What did you guys think about? Let's start with the pass rush. The Steelers' ability to generate pressure. They do have 5 sacks. Dave, I'll start with you.
They were able to get the pass rush going a lot of the time. It didn't feel like Justin Herbert was back there with forever to throw without anything getting to him. I know, was it at halftime or whatnot where they showed the stat that he was like his fastest time to throw of the season so far, or during, at the time they were putting the number up there, because he did not have time. The Steelers were doing a good job. When they put the 3 outside linebackers out there together, they were getting there. They were batting some passes down. The pass rush seemed to be getting the job done pretty well.
Yeah. Brian, thoughts on the pass rush?
Yeah, I felt like they were getting in there. I just don't think that this Chargers offense is a juggernaut like a lot of people. Well, in fact, it looked like they were tonight, but they really weren't. The Steelers gave them a few short fields, and then a couple of those long gains. McConkey, like a great game, and that's pretty good because he looks like a high school junior. And I was really impressed with someone 16 tearing up the Steelers like that. But as far as everything goes, yeah, I was pleased with how they were getting in there. Did anybody have multiple sacks?
Highsmith had 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought the pass rush was good. I mean, they were hitting him. They were getting after him early and often. And again, it was just a couple plays that really blew it up. And a lot of those were to Ladd McConkey. Let's go over the rest of their receiving stats. Again, McConkey leads the way, 4 catches, 107 yards. Quentin Johnston, 5 for 42. He was targeted 10 times, by the way, Quentin Johnston. Keenan Allen gets his 2 catches to be the all-time Chargers reception leader. We all saw that. Kamani Vidal, 1 for 13. Gadsden. There you go. Aronde Gadsden, 3 for 13, and a bunch of others with a couple
Then
catches.
he got hurt, right?
Yep.
Yes,
Yeah.
he was the one that went knee to knee with Peyton Wilson. What did you guys think about the secondary, especially after Darius Slay left with a concussion and they had to put in Jimmy P? And then after Jimmy Pierre was back there, and they lose Joey Porter Jr. and Jalen Ramsey and Chuck Clark. I mean, what did y'all think about the secondary, Dave?
I, believe it or not, thought James Pierre played pretty well.
I did too.
And I'll be honest with you, Brandon Echols was right there on that Ladd McConkey throw. So much so, it looked like he even got a fingertip or something on the ball. McConkey even bobbled it and then was off. It was just, the ball was put in a really good spot. It wasn't like he had a terrible defensive play and let it go. The problem was he wasn't able to recover and get him on the ground right there. That was basically the issue with that play. Otherwise, early on, I was frustrated because I'm like, yeah, they're going to throw it out to whoever number 1 is. I can't remember his name. When you see Darius Slay playing that far off, but I think they were better when Slay left, in all honesty. And when the little bit of time that Joey Porter Jr. was out and Ramsey moved to corner and Chuck Clark had to go into safety, it didn't kill them. And then they were able to rotate back to their normal stuff. So all in all, the defense was keeping the Steelers in this game as long as they possibly could.
Yeah. Brian, thoughts on the secondary?
Yeah, I really feel that Brandon Echols, like Dave said, had a good game. I thought Jimmy Pierre was superb in that role. And I love Kyle Duggar. I like what Jalen Ramsey does. I get frustrated that we have to have an injury timeout every single week with Joey Porter Jr. It seems like
Darius Slay is worse. He's usually Slay's multiple times a game,
just as bad. And oh my gosh, Kyle Duggar did hit him pretty hard. That was that was just unfortunate. That was friendly fire when Slay went out. But no, this all comes down to the fact that the offense was putting the defense in a bad position. I don't feel that the defense gave up 25 points, because of course they didn't. 2 of those they didn't give up. And they even got to a point where, when they were being put in bad position, they were able to get off of the field. I mean, so what? They gave up 2 touchdowns tonight. Yeah. And that was it.
I thought the secondary, all things considered, was not bad. I mean, like you said, I think Dave said that how Echols was right there. It was great coverage. It was just a perfect throw, perfect catch. It is what it is. It was just the one thing that was, I guess, if you want to knock him, is Joey Porter Jr. has a ball that goes right into his lap, and he doesn't come down with the interception. The Duggar interception would have been much more challenging. I think it would have been. It's definitely a possible interception, but it's tough. It is tough. All right, let's go to the running game. The Chargers run the ball 31 times, and they rushed for 115 yards. It's only a 3.7-yard average, but they were running it well enough to keep some of the heat off of Justin Herbert. Kamani Vidal, 25 carries for 95 yards, a 3.8 average, and a touchdown. Justin Herbert, 5 for 19. Guys, what did you think about the run defense? Dave, I'll let you go first.
Or especially early on, they had him completely stifled, and then they didn't. And that really helped the Chargers possess the ball, was when they actually was able to start running the football in there. Because if I recall right, hold on as I check this out. Yeah, they had 11 yards on 6 carries in the first quarter for a 1.8 average. So early on, that was it. Then it was the second quarter when they started to bust out some better runs, where they had 44 on 6 carries for 7.3, and then I mean they were pretty decent in the third, but in the fourth, once again they ran it more, but they only had 21 yards on 11 carries. So it was that middle half of the game where the Steelers were allowing some bigger runs that was the problem.
Brian, thoughts on the run defense?
You know what? I was surprised that Herbert did not just kill them more running the football, and he didn't. It was more Vidal, which I found out he's a relative of Hank Aaron, which I did not know that going into this game, but I thought he was just absolutely superb a couple weeks ago when you thought they were cooked when Omari and Hampton went down. But this guy runs well. It always seems that the Chargers have good running backs, and they find ways to get holes for him. I agree. I like how the Steelers were shutting it down and not letting him get anywhere. But when things started to open up, especially when you had the first pass play to McConkey, and I think they let up a little bit with the run to make sure that they weren't getting burnt on the pass, especially in the second and the third. But it was a lot of it was circumstance, and they were able to run the ball a whole lot more because the Steelers offense was doing absolutely nothing.
All right, so we have a couple super chats. This one, we need some levity here. Steeler fan 69 gives us $5. It's a Dave friendly joke. Do you want me to read it, Dave, or do you want to read it?
Oh, you go for it.
All right. Growing up, my mother worked 10 hours a day to put food on the table. She was a great mom, but a very slow cook. I like that one. And then Steel Dog 88 gives us $2. Says, do the Steelers cut Miller and bring MVS up next week? I didn't put that on screen. Sorry.
What does cutting Miller? Well, first of all, you don't need to cut Miller to bring MVS up. You elevate him from the practice squad 3 times before you think about putting him on the 53,
right?
Unless somebody else is going to poach him. That would be the only reason to do that. That's 1. 2, in place of Miller, Miller's been injured for 3 games. You got to find somebody else that he would have to replace in order to give him a helmet. That would be the key.
It would almost be like, I guess they would almost have to say that they're going to put Scotty Miller on injured reserve with his finger injury, which they haven't done.
What they should have done in the first place.
Yes, exactly. And then they would say that we're going to promote MVS to the active roster in his place. Like that's.
But then someone else is going to have to sit. That's the key,
right? Yeah.
Who you sitting? Are you sitting Skoranek with the special teams? You sitting Williams now that he muffed the punt?
I would probably sit Williams just from a sheer numbers perspective, because outside of the return game, I don't think he really brings much to the.
No. He doesn't. And it's honestly, you want to know the problem? It's really hard to have 5 wide receivers active on game day, and 2 of them are basically just for special teams.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. All right. Let's talk some special teams. Now that we're on the topic, Chris Boswell missed a field goal.
Yeah.
And when that happens, you're like, and it's not our night. Because he makes a 59-yarder. Misses, what was that, 52, I think?
45.
It was a 45.
Yes.
Yikes. I thought it was worse. I thought it was longer than that. So 45-yard miss. I don't know. You had the muff punt. Not the best day for the special teams, wouldn't you say, guys? Dave, I'll let you go.
Yeah, not the best day for the special teams.
Brian, any thoughts?
Yeah, this is going to be an unpopular opinion, especially with my son who thinks he's awesome. But Danny Smith we're going back to the naked picture idea with Danny Smith, because the fact he works out with the team last year and they put him on prime time. He becomes everybody's darling. I think that guy's terrible. And because every time there's a run back, a decent run back, you know that, well, hey, Keyshawn Williams had a great run back at one point. You knew it's coming back. You know there's going to be a flag. And they show Danny Smith on the sidelines when they boink that field goal. And he's like cheering. My son's going, yeah, Danny Smith. I'm like, he did nothing. I mean, so the special teams, they're kind of a mess right now. And it doesn't have anything to do. I'm not talking about Boz. I'm not talking about Waitman. I'm just talking about the fact that when you're dealing with coverage, when you're dealing with returns, it's just not good. And it gets amplified even more when you have that muff. And that wasn't the only muff of the night. Another one was dropped but picked back up.
Oh, yeah, that was Gainwell on a kickoff.
And it was his best return of the day. They got the ball past the 40. I don't know. So, yeah, I agree. I think that Danny Smith is competent, but I think people forget because of, like you said, like the folklore aspect, that people wanted this guy out of town almost as bad as Randy Fietner back when he was calling plays. You know, I mean, it was like, when can we fire this guy? And then Chris Boswell comes in. He's a really great kicker. And I will say, I do think the coverage and return units have been better this year, but
well, I'm tired of flags. It seems like the Steelers get more flags on returns than any other game I watch.
Yeah, I think they had one tonight, and I think the Chargers had one on a return as well.
Okay.
Yeah. You all right, Jeff? Uh-oh, we lost Jeff. I thought he was there, but now he's not. So yeah, that was. It just seemed like it wasn't going to be the Steelers' night whenever Boswell missed that.
Yeah, absolutely, and it just seemed like when that happened, it's just like, all right, they're just snake bitten for the night, and I feel like things were given up on very very early. I almost felt like Rodgers packed it in after the safety. It just did not seem like there was any urgency and things weren't going right. And I didn't even notice a fire with Aaron Rodgers tonight. It's almost like he just had one of those days, like he got a bad personal phone call before the game. Just like, where you go?
Yeah. I mean, but think about the progression there. The Steelers, they get great field position to start, go 3 and out. They get a good punt. They stop the Chargers. The Chargers have a terrible punt. The Steelers go 3 and field goal. Okay, still not doing anything offensively. They're up 3-0. Then the next one is the safety. You're still like, well, you're at least still up 3-2. The defense gets a 3 and out there, and the Steelers move the ball and then miss the field goal. I mean, the defense was doing everything that they could, and you're like, seriously, it's 3-2, and yeah, it just felt like, well, and I really half expected Aaron Rodgers to maybe come out in the second half and look completely different. That was the only hope that I was holding on to. I'm like, maybe this offense, Rodgers will get it together at halftime and say, come on, guys, we're gonna rally around each other. We're gonna come out here and we're still in this game. This is us. We got this. And it was just as bad through the third quarter. I don't know if I'd call it worse or not, but it was not good.
No. Were you guys doing final thoughts? I had to bounce real quick. Okay.
No, we were just talking about just the overall feeling, but yeah.
All right. Well, let's do some final thoughts and call it a show. Brian, I'll let you go first.
A completely winnable game that was not winnable when you can't complete anything on third down, when you just make all kinds of bobbles with your wide receivers, when the offensive line is not really holding up and your quarterback looks disinterested for the night. It just seemed like a bad thing. So I just want to go ahead and shove this one into the archives and look ahead to the Cincinnati Bengals. I believe they're up next, right?
They are.
Okay.
1 o'clock. 1 o'clock. Thank goodness.
Yes. And I want to go ahead and
NFL football to be played.
Look ahead to them, but I do want to go ahead and celebrate something. And I'm going to celebrate the fact that it is Monday officially, which means it's the 10th. This is an anniversary not to be celebrated, just to be mentioned. The first one, it's the 50 years ago today, the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Just a very interesting thing. If you don't know about it, it's a very interesting, almost mysterious case. But that's not what I want to celebrate.
Gordon Lightfoot, sorry.
Yeah, Gordon, good song too. But yeah, that happened November 10th, 1975. So I want to talk about something very special to, I think, all of us and everybody in the live chat. This is the 250th birthday today of the United States Marine Corps. So I just want to honor anybody in the Marines. And we also have on November 11th, we're going to have Veterans Day as well. So I want to thank everybody, the land of the free and the home of the brave. And we are free because of the brave. So thank you very much, gentlemen, ladies. We appreciate all of you.
All right, Dave, final thoughts?
Yeah, this was one that I said I didn't know how I felt going into this one. I didn't really know what to expect. And maybe this is why. This still feels like this is a game that the Steelers, I'm not saying they should have won, but they could have won. They could have won this game if they just do anything remotely positive on offense. They played well enough defensively. And I think that's what's suckering us in as Steelers fans is we're like, oh man, this team can't win games if the defense is never going to stop anybody. Well, now we're getting what we said. The defense is making stops, but the offense can't score. It feels like we're in 2022 all over again. So,
yeah.
But I mean, it's just, and the Steelers, and you could say it was the whole West Coast thing, but the Steelers they had won 4 in a row in the Pacific time zone. It shouldn't have been that. It's just one of those things. I know someone in the live chat said something about the Titans offense scored more points. No, they didn't. The Titans special team scored more and defense scored more points. The offense only scored 6 against these guys. So but I'm really glad that Bryan closed it up in a good way to say, to thank you to all the veterans and everything and I'm pretty sure this week coming up for the Steelers is their salute to service game, because they do one at home. So obviously, since it wasn't the one before Veterans Day, it'll be the one after. Hopefully the Steelers can get stuff figured out, because people were like, oh, they lost that lead in the AFC North. Well, that's just because we have to look at the reality of this. The Steelers just aren't that great of a football team. They can't play consistently enough on both sides of the ball. It is who they are right now. So do they have a chance to improve and get better down the stretch? They do. Have we seen good things from the offense at times? Yes, we have. Have we seen good things from the defense at times? Yes, we have. Have we seen them really come together and play complementary football? Not very much. Not very much. So what just stinks is that because of this, that there's potential. But until they put it together, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. So, like I said, let's just stash this away in the archives. Let's move on to the Cincinnati Bengals. It is, I guess, the Unk Bowl 2 or part 2 or part 2.
I'll have nightmares more about that as the week goes on. For now, I'm just ready to wallow my misery. And you know what? I'm going to say this to everyone. All you Steeler fans out there that are with us live, if you're listening to this later, it might not make a lot of sense. But think back about how you felt after this game if you're listening to this on audio later. For Steeler fans that are here with us now, I got to say this. Go to bed. Good night. Just go get some rest. I know it sucks to have a Monday start this way, but that's just kind of what we're dealing with. But remember that we're going to continue to have everything here for you at Steel Curtain Network. We'll have our lineup of podcasts all this week. We'll get ready for the next one. Make sure you're checking out steelcurtainnetwork.com. That site's really growing. We're with them. We're with them with the good. We're with them with the bad. It's just kind of how we roll. So, now Jeff is coming back. I was trying to say goodbye before Jeff came back, but actually, I think Jeff is having a mic issue, so he might not be the whole way there. So, all I can say is that we'll see you next time on another Steelers post-game show.
Steel Curtain Network. Get it.
Everybody else gets a little tight.